There's a clay tablet in the University of Philadelphia's Penn Museum that most visitors walk past without stopping. It's about the size of a paperback book. The writing on it is tiny and dense, thousands of wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay by someone sitting in the ruins of a city, probably within years of watching that city die. Scholars call it the lament for the destruction of Ur. It's one of the oldest pieces of literature ever found. Written around 2000 BC in the Sumerian language, it describes the destruction of Ur, at that time one of the largest, wealthiest cities on Earth, in vivid, specific, first-hand language. For most of the last century, historians read it as a poem about a military defeat. Invaders from the north swept in, the city fell, a scribe wrote about it afterward. Sad, but straightforward. Then archaeologists started digging beneath Ur's destruction layer, and what they found underneath the ash didn't look like what invading armies leave behind. It looked like something else entirely. Subscribe if you want more of this. Each week I go back into the ancient world and look carefully at what was actually written down and what the ground beneath it tells us. Now, let's look at what the scribe actually saw the night Ur burned. The city that shouldn't have fallen. To understand why the destruction of Ur is strange, you need to understand what Ur was. By 2000 BC, Ur had been a major city for over 1,000 years. It had massive walls, several stories tall, built from fired brick and maintained by professional engineers. It had grain reserves that could feed the population for years. It had a standing army, a professional class of administrators, and a temple complex called the ziggurat, which was the largest structure in the known world at the time. Cities like this did not fall quickly. When armies attacked ancient cities, it was usually a siege, months or years of cutting off supplies until hunger forced surrender. Military destruction was gradual and localized. It left behind evidence of fighting, weapons, skeletons with blade wounds, and collapsed walls from battering rams. Ur's destruction layer shows almost none of that. What it shows instead is heat. Intense, sudden, widespread heat. Mud bricks that fired and fused as if put in a kiln. Storage jars that cracked from thermal shock rather than physical impact. Organic materials carbonized so thoroughly that excavators in the 1920s and 1930s, led by the British archaeologist Leonard Woolley, noted repeatedly how unusual the burn signatures were. Woolley wrote in his excavation notes that the fire appeared to have come quickly and from above, though he didn't speculate further. That observation sat in his field notes for decades, without anyone asking the obvious follow-up question: what the scribe wrote. The lament for the destruction of Ur is worth reading carefully, because it's easy to assume poetry is vague. This text is not vague. The scribe describes fire descending from the sky, not fire carried by soldiers, but fire coming down. He describes it happening to multiple cities at the same time, not in sequence the way a conquering army moves from place to place. He describes the heat arriving before the destruction, which is not how military attacks work, but is exactly how a high-altitude airburst, an asteroid or comet fragment exploding in the atmosphere, would behave. He also describes something that scholars have long treated as metaphor, the air itself becoming harmful. People who were not directly in the fire became sick and died. The text calls it a poisonous wind that spread out from the direction of the destruction. Now we move from documented history into reasonable scientific speculation. A cosmic airburst of sufficient size produces a shockwave, intense thermal radiation, and, depending on what the object is made of, can release chemical compounds into the air that are toxic to breathe. The famous Tunguska event in Siberia in 1908, where an asteroid exploded in the atmosphere without hitting the ground, flattened 2,000 square kilometers of forest. Witnesses 60 kilometers away were knocked off their feet. People reported a burning sensation on exposed skin. Some reported difficulty breathing. Tunguska was relatively small by cosmic impact standards. Something larger, over a populated area, would produce exactly what the lament describes: fire from above, simultaneous destruction across a wide area, and a toxic aftermath that killed people who thought they were far enough away to be safe. The scribe wasn't writing metaphor. He may have been writing what he saw and what survivors told him. The archaeology beneath the text. In 2019, a team of researchers published findings in the journal Scientific Reports about a site called el-Hammam in modern Jordan, roughly 500 miles from Ur. The site dates to 1650 BC, somewhat later than Ur's destruction, but within the same broad, ancient Near East time frame, and it showed something remarkable in its destruction layer. Pottery shards melted on the outside, but not the inside, exactly what intense thermal radiation from above would produce, and exactly the opposite of what a ground-level fire creates. Shocked quartz only forms under extreme pressure, the kind generated by cosmic impacts. There were microscopic spherules of iron and silica, formed when rock was vaporized and then re-solidified in the air. There was also a platinum anomaly, elevated levels of platinum in the destruction layer, rare on Earth's surface, but common in asteroids. The researchers concluded that a cosmic airburst, similar to Tunguska but significantly larger, had destroyed the site in a single event. This finding matters for our discussion because it confirmed something important. Cosmic AR bursts happened in this region, in this era, and they left exactly the kind of evidence now found at Ur: the physics match, the destruction, signatures match, and the cuneiform record, the written accounts left by people who were there, describes events consistent with an airburst rather than a military attack. To be fair, mainstream historians still debate the cause of Ur's fall, and military invasion from the Amorites and Elamites remains the leading explanation for the political collapse that followed. But a cosmic event and a subsequent military takeover are not mutually exclusive. An airburst that destroyed the city's infrastructure and killed a significant portion of its population would have left it vulnerable to the invasions that historical records confirm did happen shortly afterward. The city may have been struck first and conquered second. What makes this text unique? There are older astronomical records. The tablet K8538, covered in previous videos for example, which logs an object crossing the sky in 3123 BC from a watchman's perspective. But the lament for the destruction of Ur is different in one important way. It is not an astronomer's log. It is not a list of observations made from a safe rooftop at a professional distance. It is an account written by someone who was in or near the city when it happened, someone who saw the fire come down, who smelled the aftermath, who walked through what remained and tried to put words to it. That makes it, almost certainly, the oldest surviving account written by someone who witnessed a probable cosmic impact event from the ground, not from a distance, not years later, but close enough to describe the heat, the destruction, and what the air tasted like afterward. The scribe was educated, which means he almost certainly survived by being inside a stone temple or administrative building when the event happened. He then came out and looked at his city, and instead of running, he sat down and wrote. That is a remarkable human act. In the middle of catastrophe, a trained professional did the thing his training had prepared him to do. He recorded it. What we can say honestly. Here is where things stand. The lament for the destruction of Ur is real. It has been translated. It is sitting in a museum. The descriptions of fire falling from the sky, simultaneous destruction across multiple cities, and a toxic aftermath are in the text. The archaeological evidence at Ur showing intense, unusual, top-down burning is real. Woolley documented it in the 1920s and did not know what to make of it. The science of cosmic airbursts, confirmed at Tall el-Hammam and elsewhere in the region, shows that these events did happen in ancient Mesopotamia and that they produce exactly the destruction signatures we are finding. What we cannot say with certainty is that all of this is connected. The dating is close but not exact. The physical evidence at Ur has not been re-examined with modern cosmic impact analysis in mind. That work has not been done yet, which is itself worth noting. But the text is there. The ash is there. The science is there. Someone sat in the ruins of the largest city in the world and wrote down what destroyed it. We have had that document for over a century. We are only now beginning to ask whether he was telling us something more literal than we assumed.